Good afternoon, and what is a warm, bright, and sunny day. It is Tuesday, the 5th of September. I've got a nice hot cup of tea and a big box to continue unboxing. So, I'm going to delve into a box in this box because I've got something interesting here which I definitely want to do an unboxing of. So it was in this package containing Wild West, the essentially the Old West role-playing game published by Fantasy Games Unlimited, 1979, something like that, 1980. So what I was going to have a look at is this is TB1. Dungeon Module TB1, Things Better Left Alone, written by Bill Barsh, designed by J. Eric Holmes, an adventure for character levels 4 to 6 for the Adventure RPG game system. So, the adventure is set near the seaside city of Port Town, where a massive and ancient dungeon complex was discovered beneath the city. A group of young adventurers descended into the dungeon, but none returned. Soon after, several citizens vanished, and all known entrances to the dungeon were sealed. An enigmatic wizard arrived sometime later and built a tower on the outskirts of the city on the cliffs overlooking the ocean and deep water lagoon. No sooner than the tower was completed, tragedy struck. In the middle of the night, the tower was engulfed in green flames. Several explosions blew out the walls, but the tower did not fall. Only a few servants escaped the catastrophe, and they claimed the wizard was secretly exploring the dungeons beneath the city. What happened to the wizard, named Zeropass, is unknown, although the servants claimed he was in the tower at the time of the disaster. Years later, strange lights emanated from the abandoned tower, and more citizens near the tower vanished in the middle of the night. The city council commissioned a catapult, and the tower was battered until much of it collapsed in ruin, burying the entrance to the dungeons, so the council thought. Years passed without incident, but again, people are vanishing in the dark of the night. The council, under pressure to do something, anything, has decided that whatever evil lurking in the dungeons must be destroyed. This adventure module is designed for use with the Adventure RPG and is completely compatible with the classic fantasy RPG system written by Dr. J. Eric Holmes. The scenario is best played with 5 to 8 characters, 4th to 6th level, and the adventure party should contain 30 character levels approximately. No particular class is required, but at least 2 fighter types and 1 cleric are recommended. Now, this is published by Pacesetter Games. It is an NX RPG Con exclusive module, so it was exclusive to the North Texas RPG convention, which is one of the lesser conventions in the United States, but still a major event, certainly within the old school Renaissance school of gaming, alongside to GaryCon. This item is only one of the popular playing aids for the first edition fantasy adventure game. Aids created by Pacesetter Games and friends currently include this list. So there's the list on the back. Now, what is this? It's an adventure based upon a scenario or adventure designed by the late J. Eric Holmes, who, if you know your Dungeons and Dragons history, was designer of the first edition of basic Dungeons and Dragons, which went through multiple iterations. It would be redesigned as BX by Tom Moldvay. Then Frank Menser would do the renowned Beckme edition, which is really sort of like the one most people remember these days. And is seen in something like Labyrinth Lord, whereas I think the BX version is Old School Essentials. This has been recreated with the permission of the Holmes family estate, and it's a piece of history. It's bringing back a piece of history which we otherwise would have thought lost. So you open up and you've got that. Basically, cover artwork again, but a nice thanks to the family there. And they've got the table of contents, Things Better Left Alone, and essentially you've got the same kind of introduction you've got on the front cover, because the other thing about this is that this echoes the style of TSR adventures in the late 70s and very early 80s, so that instead of having what you would have, instead of a back cover blurb, you have a front cover blurb, and on the back would be a list of other products. That's classic TSR in its early days. Because essentially, Why? Because you'd pick this up off the shelf and you'd start reading immediately. What's this about? You could see it on the front cover along with the artwork, rather than sort of picking up and turning it over and going, as with every other book. Description essentially how to get the players involved. Got a table of contents, quite plain and simple, and getting started. Player characters who play for the original sample dungeon. Now, the thing is, it's based upon the sample dungeon that was included in that basic rulebook. And we have a discussion of dungeon ecology and how it's designed, and sample dungeon experience and treasure, how that is organised. So, and then literally 2 pages in, introduction, player involvement, a couple of notes, so here and here, entering the dungeon. So no fuss, no muss, get on with it. And we have a typical sort of, it's really broken down into sections that include the title, the box text, the bit of purple prose that you read out, and a GM's description to help her orientate herself with and describe the room in detail if the players investigate further. Of course they will. And then stats and details as necessary. And we have quite rough artwork there. And descriptions of various rooms. You're not going to see a lot. It's actually quite a wall of text. And see, we essentially have a look at the map. I'm going to flip forward to the map so you can see where they are exploring and playing. Basically, just give you a quick view of the maps, which are placed at the end of the scenario. And this is just this is appendix 4 maps. So the entrance is, let's see what the entrance is. That's actually quite. I'm going to say that's actually quite difficult to read. To be honest, they could have been much clearer presented. I think this is easier. The larger they are, the more easy they are to view. So those are the maps. And continuing this, you see as the scenario progresses, you've got more detail on more rooms, more flavour, and more monsters. And actually, the artwork, that's quite a nice piece of artwork. You basically play a character being chased by a purple worm. Yeah, that's quite nice. So you've actually got some decent artwork in here, not all of it. Classic monsters in there, like the mimic, dealing with a glass wall. So you've got kind of classic features of a dungeon. You've got a major location, so like Mike Knight's lair, and you've got an overview of that. And some of these locations are actually quite detailed. It's no here's one paragraph of a description, paragraph description for the game master, and then the monster stats. There's actually more to it than those locations necessarily first suggest, or essentially, or a scene earlier. We have an encounter with were sharks. So it's quite text heavy, of course. And we've got a series of crypts, because there's got sections sort of like home to a ghoul lord, and his details, and the various crypts, including tables for the undead. which the player characters might encounter in that section, and that's the kind of adventure. And then we get on to Appendix 1, new monsters, like the Brain Grub, Dagon Avatar, Dagonite High Priest, Dagonite Commander. Pity no illustrations for those. And then Myconith King. So we've got different kind of species of monsters in there. Octopus, Purple Wormling, Shade Lords. So quite a range of monsters. It's got several pages of monsters. Appendix new magical items, so Crystal Ball of the Mad Wizard, Fungus Staff, Mace of Orcus. There's a nice nod to the Demon Lord, Devil. And then we have Hireling Sheets. So fully statted out hirelings for the player characters to employ on their expedition into the dungeons below the town of Port Town. Notes on the Emerald Flame, a particular basically artifact in the game, in the scenario, and in other scenarios available from Pathfinder, so connecting those two. Then you've got the maps, which I've shown you before. They're not that easy to read, sort of like the larger they are. And then at the end we've actually got some handwritten notes from Dr. J. Eric Holmes, dungeon design, his maps, a lovely feel to them, you know, the sort of thing you draw yourself on graph paper and bring to life in play. So several of those, and these, if you sort of basically take these and sort of like look at those and compare them to the early maps, you give it a bit larger context to the scenario itself and the whole layout of the dungeon. So that is Dungeon Module TB1, Things Better Left Alone by J. Eric Holmes and Bill Barsh, published by Pacesetter Games. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this unboxing in the Nook. If you have, then please do click on the like button down below. And of course, if you've got any comments or feedback, I do appreciate you taking the time to post those. And lastly, if you want to be alerted to get more unboxings of the Nook, where you will see me out here with a box containing a book or game, or in this case a scenario for old school Renaissance style role-playing games, which I will unbox and chat about to the best extent of my knowledge for roughly 10 minutes or so, all of course accompanied by a nice cup of tea. Do please click on the subscribe button down below. Thanks again for watching. Be back again soon with another one. Bye for now.